Sophie Stott, Quickmail. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, Paul.
Awesome. Great to have you on board. Just for the listeners, do you want to tell us a little bit about your business, what you do, how you do it?
Sure. Our business is called Quickmail. We are a 30-year-old business, which my dad started. Last year, we celebrated 30 years. And traditionally, the business is in mail, so direct mail, letterbox drops, printing, and all the things associated with that. So we've got big machines that fold and insert letters into envelopes. We do plastic wrapping. We can organise letterbox drops for people as well. And that's really the traditional part of the business. The newer part of the business is e-commerce fulfillment. So we've built some software, some bespoke software that integrates with e-commerce stores, and we can then manage those e-commerce stores' inventory and orders. So basically, if someone's selling widgets online, the widgets will arrive to us. We'll unpack them out of the container or the box or the pallet. We'll count them, we'll put them on the shelves. And then as the orders come in for those widgets, we'll pick them, pack them, and ship them. So we send a lot of parcels out every day on behalf of our customers.
And that must be a part of the business that's growing really quickly at the moment.
It is, yeah. We've had a big increase in that over the last probably 3 years. We've taken on additional space, got more staff, so it's really growing that side of the business.
And was that pushed along by COVID as well?
I think it was a little bit, but it was going to happen anyway. And I think for the types of products that we had, we didn't see a massive increase in those, but certainly, what COVID did do is make people think more about buying online, maybe feel more comfortable about buying online, so then go and look for other businesses as well. We didn't have anyone selling toilet paper, put it that way.
Would have sold out anyway. So
yeah, that's right.
So with this transition in the business, what stress and strain has that brought to you as the leader of the business?
Look, the transition that we made was one we really had to make, because we could see that mail numbers were declining. We didn't traditionally do a lot of transactional mail, meaning we didn't do a lot of the electricity bills and the power, the telephone bills and that kind of thing. So we didn't see that drop off, but less people were using mail, and obviously costs were going up for postage as well. So it is still a big part of our business, and it will continue to be a part of our business, but we needed to add something that we could see where there was real growth within the business. So we built the platform that we now call Get Quickmail, which enables us to do that warehousing side of things. So there was the costs involved in building that. And in the beginning, you're building something that costs a lot of money and it doesn't have the throughput. So we had to, bootstrap that, make that happen slowly. Cash flow was an issue for a long time, because particularly with the warehousing business, we're getting paid after we've done the work, but we're having to pay wages and postage bills and all of that kind of stuff before that. So that's certainly been something we've had to learn as well. So
squeezed on the cash gap.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's a big trap for a lot of businesses, isn't it?
It's the hardest thing ever, and it's something you've got to learn to manage, and you've got to train your customers, you've got to train your staff, and you've also got to manage your suppliers. It's really difficult. The other things that I think were challenging was just getting the team here to understand that the business was evolving and changing, and some people found that very difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
So that might mean that they don't want to stay any longer. We had to find the right people, because essentially a lot of the work we were doing was quite different. So that's been challenging as well.
I guess it begs the old question: if you could fire all your team, how many would you rehire? It's just one of those interesting questions as the business transitions, isn't it?
Yeah, yep. So, and I think you can do that in an organic kind of way, where as you grow, you work out, who's a good fit for the business, and those people that aren't, they quite often put their hand up and will find themselves other roles. But people need to understand that the business has to be profitable, and we need certain things are expected of them within the business to achieve. Yeah.
And what was your biggest learning during that period, you reckon?
Biggest learning in terms of doing the pivot within the business?
Yes.
Oh gosh, there's been a lot. I think for me, one thing that I talked about a lot with the team in the beginning was 1% improvement. And the more I think about it, the more I realize that was something that enabled us to make really quite massive change in a relatively quick period of time. And it did hurt, but I think to get people on board, if you can just make a little bit of change every day, and you can compound on that change and that improvement, you really can look back after a year or 2 years time and think, wow, haven't we come a long way? So for me, that's probably one of the biggest things.
And that's what gives you motivation to move forward. Did you find that as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because you look back sometimes, you think, gosh, forgot that we were, in that place 12 months ago, or that we hadn't done X, Y, and Z. But, you continually just want to keep getting better. So you're always looking for ways to improve.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to another person in business that was looking to do a pivot like that? What are the main...
Don't do it. No.
Don't do it. Only if you have to.
My advice is, however hard you think it's going to be, double it and times it by, I don't know, 5, and it's going to be at least that hard. It's always going to be harder than what you think. You have to believe in it, because there's always going to be people around you that don't see the vision that you have, that find it easier to see the negative, that don't want to see you succeed potentially, and not because they want you to fail, but just because that's how people are sometimes. So I think you've got to have really, really strong belief in yourself, and you've got to pick yourself up after the really bad days and just keep putting one foot in front of the next. That's my experience.
Do you pick yourself up?
How do you? You got to have for me, I personally, I have horses, and I compete and I ride. And so every morning I've got a reason to get out of bed early, because they like to get fed every day. And so I go and I talk to my horses, and I have my quiet time when I'm, doing all the little jobs I have to do with the horses. And I've been very particular about not doing that. So I always give myself that time. I go home in the afternoons and I'll ride, or I'll spend some time with the horses. On the weekends, I do my competitions, and at the worst of the time, when I was starting to think, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Those weekends away gave me just a break from all of those thoughts. So it's so I think that you have to have an outlet, whatever that is, whether it's going for a walk on the beach, taking your dogs for a walk. For me, really, really important, and something I just did not deny myself.
Yep. Look, and that's hugely important, isn't it? Because having a calm headspace and focus on clear thinking during the day must be a huge benefit for you when you're going through that big pivot and all those staff challenges of people not necessarily on board and looking for the 1% improvements. I dare say that would have been an absolute godsend for you. Yeah.
They don't question you. Well, the only thing they say is, well, where's my dinner? I'm hungry.
They don't fight back. They don't argue. They don't turn
well,
up.
They do sometimes, but no, most of the time, they've always got it's like having a dog. You get home, the dog's always got a smile for you. So
exactly right. Yeah. What's the one bit of advice you'd give to somebody that's thinking of starting out in business, that perhaps is a little bit apprehensive? What's the one?
Well, like I said before, I think you've got to believe in yourself and not listen to too much of the noise. I am one of those people. I like to listen to lots of podcasts. I like to hear other people's opinions. But one of my sayings, and I have a few, is don't ask the question if you don't want to know the answer. If you're not prepared to listen to somebody, don't ask them. Just because I think it's quite rude to ask someone's opinion of something and then totally disregard what they've got to say. That doesn't mean you can't ask questions. It's not saying that at all. But I think it is important to think about who you're asking advice from, because particularly if you're starting from nothing, you might want to talk to your friends, and they don't all understand. They haven't all run their own businesses. So it's important to get advice from the right people and ask the right questions of the right people. Believe in yourself. Just get a little bit better every day, and don't give up when the going gets tough, because it will.
It does for a little while, but it gets easier again as you go.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Sophie Stott, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being on board.
No problems. Nice to chat.